Yep.
Good afternoon, folks. This is Deb and Dave. We recorded one show already about the corruption in the Trump administration, which has not yet been posted, but will be posted. This could essentially be part two of that story. This is about the pardoning that Donald Trump is doing and why we absolutely need some kind of reform to the pardon system in the United States. Uh, you know, Essentially, I'm going to post the first show tonight, and I will be posting this second show within a couple of days of it because they're that closely allied to each other. And I think it's best that they're posted close together. So here we go with part two, Donald Trump and pardons for sale.
What I will say about the pardons that I have seen, I'm not going to go through every single one, obviously, but there is a pattern with the pardons. And the last show we did was on the spoils system. Trump is basically handing these out as gifts. As long as you are able to potentially do something for him in the future, even if it's to send a message that, hey, this guy has criticized me in the past and I pardoned him anyway. I'm not such a bad guy. It could be that. It could be that a person is working with one of the cabinet positions on something, and that's one of the people that I saw. It could be any number of things. There's a ton of people in the entertainment industry who have been pardoned, and that lends to sympathy for Trump, or he's a nice guy, or any of that kind of stuff. What we're going to talk about is what what are we doing here? I mean, we talk about due process. Due process goes both ways. We have the Venezuelan deportees. There is a story that Deb and I are going to show you a little later, showing from ProPublica saying that the Trump administration knew that the bulk of these individuals did not have criminal records. And in the meantime, see, this goes both ways. We have insurrectionists who already had criminal issues already. And he pardoned all of them, blanket pardon, because they showed fealty to him. That's what this is about.
Yep.
Okay. So the very first slide that I want to show you is there is a Democratic House rep in, I believe it's Tennessee. He is proposing a constitutional amendment. Now, we all know how difficult it is to pass a constitutional amendment, but this is needed to stop the pay to play kind of nonsense that Trump is doing. There have always been controversial pardons, but this guy is taking it to a whole new level. He really is. So let me start here. Congressman Steve Cohen from Memphis, Memphis, Tennessee, Tennessee's 8th district. It reintroduces an amendment to the Constitution to clarify and limit presidential pardon power. Basically, what he's saying is that he wants to limit it so that a president can't pardon his immediate family, can't pardon anyone in his previous administration. And much like the emoluments clause, if it can be proven that him pardoning a person is solely for his personal gain, that pardon could not go through without some kind of act of Congress. Sounds fair to me.
Yep.
So this is something that is going to be out there, and we need to push once we get our country back. And once we get a majority of people back. Okay. Now, before I start this entire thing, there was an article, I can't even remember which one, which talked about Trump's bipartisan pardoning. Now, which Democrats has he pardoned? We talked about it. Rod Blagojevich, and I believe Blagojevich has left the Democratic Party since then. I don't know if
Yes.
he's independent or Republican. I don't know.
Well,
It doesn't.
he's promoting.
He's promoting Trump, okay, and Eric Adams, who for in return he would help with ICE and
That's not,
cooperate
that's
with
not
ICE.
bipartisan pardoning.
No, it's not.
That's not okay.
It's quid pro quo.
It is.
It's the spoils system. I
Right.
give you something, you give me something.
And you will remember that we were not thrilled with Eric Adams when he was elected to begin with
Right.
for several reasons. Okay, even though he had a D next to his name.
He was leaning towards that whole Christian nationalism thing. He's made some comments, but now with all the proposed indictments, and now he's pardoned, and now he's loyal to
Trump.
the orange evil. I mean, And by the way, come up with whatever names you want, because apparently Trump wants to potentially prosecute people for calling them bad names.
Good.
I mean, whatever. I got to think of new ones.
But Taco Ding Dong Bell, give that a shot.
Right. I can't. I can't find the True Social post, but apparently he was very upset with people calling him yam tits. I mean,
you gotta help me find that, because I literally want to make a video of all of the words we can't call him, and I want to say all of those words on
of course, I have to find it. But here is ProPublica does fantastic work.
Yeah, they do.
Trump administration knew vast majority of Venezuelans sent to the Salvadoran prison had not been convicted of crimes. Now, I put in an article, an article about Caroline Levitt. Just remember, she is adamant. She's like, they're criminals, they're evil, they're scum, they're never coming back. They're this, that, and the other thing. Democrats are too soft, blah, 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 blah. There's a reason why we don't want due process, because we don't want to just punish people for arbitrary reasons or because of bigotry, basically, is what it is.
Donald Trump says that they're criminals.
Right.
Okay? Since when does the perpetrator get to decide who the criminals are?
And now I wanted to bring this up too. So they recently ICE raided Jerry Nadler's office and supposedly detained an aide for some reason. Okay, here's the thing. Before you start saying that people are aiding criminal migrants, you got to prove that they're criminals first.
That's right. And an awful lot of these people, by the way, that are being detained and deported to gulags are American citizens. So let's stop the nonsense here. And it's not hidden.
Okay. Day in and day out, you have a lily white, young, blonde woman
Bimbo.
calling these Venezuelans criminals and evil and whatever. I just sheer bigotry. And Deb and I have never said if someone is found to have been convicted of a serious enough crime, you don't deport them. We have never said that.
No, we
What
have.
we are saying is that everybody has a right to due process. That's how Deb and I met when we were fighting over fighting for Julian Assange's release, because in our eyes he wasn't given the due process he was afforded. Okay, and it wasn't about are they good people or any of that. No, everyone is afforded due process. And due process goes both ways. Trump is corrupt, is kind of twisting the system, and he pardoned 1,500 January 6th rioters, some of which were convicted of crimes outside of the federal charge, like rape, domestic violence, you know, assault. So
I think some
just
robbery as well. I'm not sure.
yeah.
Pretty sure.
Well, this this was a story January 28th. Okay, pardoned January 6th rioter arrested on child pornography charges. Okay, so I'm just
Top of
saying.
the earth. Very good people on both sides. Remember that? Very good people on both sides. Yeah. Yeah.
And Deb and I have talked about this too. There have been some insurrectionists who have run for federal office so far, and some states are looking to ban that. Now, I know New York is one of them because I believe 47. It was something along those lines of dozens. I know dozens of people were from New York, and there was someone who in New York that has proposed this. That anyone who was convicted and pardoned, we understand that, but they can't run for office. They're trying to put that through. Now, will it be challenged? Of course it will. But
It's all right. We need to keep pushing it.
this happened, when was it? Well, this was from August 2020. This is when Trump pardoned Alice Johnson. Later, this year, he made her quote unquote pardon czar. Basically, what that means is that he tasked her with finding people who would get him good press for pardoning them. People in the entertainment industry, like the Chrisleys, or, there's a boxer, there's a rapper, there's talk about pardoning Sean Combs, P. Diddy.
Disgusting.
He's considering it.
Absolutely revolting. Revolting. Absolutely revolting. Not even, I can't even go there. I mean, it disgusts me.
Now,
And let me just say this, okay? You seriously can't believe that Donald Trump would ever pardon anybody out of the kindness of his heart. The man has absolutely no kindness, not in one bone of his body. And you also have to understand, when you talk about pardoning someone like P. Diddy, you need to understand and be able to extrapolate from that action or from even that talk just exactly what Donald Trump thinks of women on the whole. Which is why I find it so mind-boggling that so many women in his administration support him. What is wrong? There's something fundamentally wrong with those people.
Okay? Not only a disdain for women, a disdain for the court system in general.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm just saying
I know what you're saying.
Who's done some of the stuff that he's done against women? The stuff that's coming out in this trial is, to me, the action of a man who himself has many credible accusers against him, and yet somehow he's managed to become president of the United States.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, it was just this, that, or the other thing. Oh, it was just locker room talk. Oh, it was
No,
just
it wasn't locker.
this.
No, no, the
Oh,
Eugene Carroll thing was not locker room talk. When you, I don't care what you shove in a woman's vagina without an invitation, whether
right.
it's your fingers or your penis, it's rape. End of
That's
story.
right. Oh,
Oh, but don't
whatever
call
they
him that.
say.
Don't call him a rapist because that's another word he doesn't like. Adjudicated rapist is another thing he doesn't like, even
Right.
though that's what
And
it is.
by the way, it's not just offensive towards women either. He's talking about dropping the federal charges. Now, there are state charges against Derek Chauvin, so he's not getting away scot-free, just so you know. But he's talking about commuting some of the federal charges or just dropping them all together.
Right. So
So
Derek
that
Chauvin,
shows a
who
disdain
killed George
for
Floyd.
minorities.
Okay. If black people in this country want to continue to vote for Donald Trump after that, then there's something wrong with you too. I'm going to say it flat out.
Now, some of this is potential, just flat out quid pro quo political back rubbing. Okay, there was a guy I just found. There's a gentleman. His name was Sittenfeld. Okay, Sittenfeld. I'm sorry, an ex-Cincinnati city councilman who was running for Cincinnati mayor, and he was looking to be whatever. And I believe this was fraud. Oh, this is PAC. This is like serious PAC bribery and stuff like that. Okay. Now, I don't even know if he's Democrat or Republican. I really don't. He did criticize Trump in the past, so who knows? But the point being that now that he has been pardoned, he didn't even ask for it, to the best of my knowledge. Let's see what happens. Because he was running in 2020 for Cincinnati mayor, I believe. And he was considered a quote unquote up and comer.
Yeah.
Here's another individual, all right?
That's a good way to put it.
Ex boxer Charles Duke Tanner uses his second chance for criminal justice reform. He runs a program that is run through HUD. Okay. he has a thing. And here's the thing, I don't know why, because Trump actually had commuted some of his sentence before in 2020. But what I will say, let me see if I can find it. There we go. There we go. Tanner now works in investor relations at Impact Growth Capital, a social impact investment firm, is working directly with HUD to improve housing and economic conditions for Black neighborhoods, which includes financial literacy and educational opportunities. That's all well and good, but what just happened? Trump administration throws hundreds of affordable housing projects into limbo after contract cuts. He slashed HUD. Probably, uh, he pardoned this individual for some, points. Hey, I pardoned this guy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, hold on. Are we lagging now?
Maybe.
Maybe. All right. 1 second, folks. Because this next one is. I don't know if you remember this guy. I remember him. I live in New York. Anybody remember the name Michael Grimm? All right.
I do.
Yeah, I know you do. Okay. Uh, it was, which one was this? It was failure to report. It was failure to report profits from one of his businesses and all of that. He also was the individual that threatened to throw a reporter off a balcony and break him in half. if you remember that.
You
Couple videos, you want to see them. The report. I don't take the congressman's threat personally. Actually, I do.
know.
He's not supposed to be doing stuff like that, obviously. There he is. Okay. And this individual, he's not that old, and he was talking about another run, just so you know.
Great. Can hardly wait. Another person of fine moral character on the Republican side of the aisle.
Here's another one. Connecticut Governor John Rowland. Now he is 77, I believe. And people are like, well, why are they going to pardon him? It's like, oh, he's older, he's getting infirm, blah blah blah. He's time served, blah blah blah, whatever. But someone mentioned in this article, and I believe that this is probably it. He wanted to send a message that um, corruption isn't corruption when it's political corruption because everybody does it.
Right.
And if you remember, he was talking about Trump was talking about the emoluments clause, and well, if I don't take it, if I don't take that plane, if I don't make those deals, then we're putting ourselves at a disadvantage. Why would I be dumb enough to do that? And blah blah blah. No, there's a reason why that's in there because we don't want all this.
Right.
Okay, so let's see. So here is rapper NBA Youngboy, who is he is ecstatic that Trump gave him his life back. By the way, NBA stands for Never Broke Again. Do you now this gentleman? He had firearms as a felon. Now, a couple things with this. Don't you think it's a little hypocritical to go after Hunter Biden and his gun charge and then pardon this individual? Now, couple reasons why I think Trump did this. The pardon czar probably put it on his desk. Also, NBA Youngboy and Trump have both hired the same attorney. So maybe if you have the same lawyer and the lawyer can do you a favor, kind of get Trump's get your name to Trump,
That's right.
you can work a deal.
Yep.
You see, the Utah officials are puzzled, by the way, because it was an ironclad case.
It doesn't matter.
No, it
So,
doesn't.
so
And it's going to kind of, yeah, the pardon czar talks about providing a second chance to people like the Chrisleys.
yeah, me too. Yeah, let's give them a second chance.
And by the way,
While we deport totally innocent people to, you know, gulags and fucking concentration camps outside the country.
when Trump gives these people a full pardon, when you're talking about the economic crime, financial crime side of it, it includes paying the money back, restitution, which costs the country a lot of money, and I'll get there too. How much? We'll get there.
Well, we're stuck with the tab on the insurrection now.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Because
We are. And I'm not even that the number I'm going to give doesn't even cover that.
right.
So Alice Johnson Trump's pardons are seen by some black people as a political token amid controversial pardons. You think?
Yeah. I think any black person that supports Trump is a political token. I mean, you can, you know, ask the lovely senators who stood by Trump all through and the congressman who stood by Trump all through the election season, how many black cabinet members there are,
Right.
right? You can ask that question, and you know the
They,
answer. You know what the
they'll
answer.
blurt out Tim Scott.
Okay, but
Okay,
it's beyond me.
Deb, I know everybody's on the edge of their seats. Hold on. Let me get on the edge of my seat. So everybody's on the edge of their seats wanting to know how much money this cost us. And this is coming from an ex-Trump official, by the way. Trump white-collar criminal pardons cost the public $1 billion, says an ex-DOJ official. We're not talking about the court costs. We're not talking about the cost of paying jurors. We're not talking about all of that. We're just talking about the restitution piece of this is $1 billion. Let that hit. When we're talking about adding a, yeah, when we're talking, but when we're asking for funding to help help kids with mental disorders or child care or any of that. New York State's asking for $190 million. Oh, we can't afford that. We can't afford that. Well, look at this. Yeah. Donald Trump, I'm going to read this. I don't even know if I have this in here. Donald Trump claims we've ended the flood of human trafficking, so we don't need to keep P. Diddy in jail. I mean,
He's such a clown.
you know, there you go. It's considering pardoning Diddy. Now, it's only for federal crimes. I don't know if there are state crimes in there. I don't know. Yeah. Can Trump pardon Derek Chauvin? Now, Tim Walz reportedly said that Minneapolis should prepare for his attempt to do so. I believe that there are also state charges in there. And when a president pardons someone, he can only pardon them for federal crimes. So, you know. But just the sheer idea of pardoning a man who murdered someone on the street by putting a knee to his neck for 9 minutes. Okay.
Okay, so I want you to hang on for a minute here.
Yep.
So as of March 2025, only a small fraction, about 15% of the nearly 3 million owed in restitution for the J6 insurrectionists has been paid, which
Right.
sticks the public for $2.7 billion. So you can add that $2.7 billion on top of the $1 billion for these clowns and understand that Donald Trump is basically putting a $3.7 billion tab on our backs. Okay? That we have no choice but to pay.
While, by the way, saying, oh, maybe if your kid only buys one doll and so you only buy one doll for your kid instead of three. Time to cut back, guys. Just saying. So, all right. This one hits close to home because he lives like one town over from me. There is a labor union leader who failed to report gifts over years. Like we're talking a decade. All right. And the man pled guilty. I believe they were going to give him a 6-month jail term, but before sentencing, Trump cleared him of everything. Now, the judge actually said, hey, you can still do the community service and you can still pay. This guy says that he's going to do that. We'll see. I will keep an eye on it.
Hold on.
But
my friend, lots to
What the
talk
heck
about.
is that?
How it goes by week.
There you go. Okay, go
I,
ahead.
I don't know.
My
Well,
phone
here's
has a life of its own.
here's here's what I'll say. Listen, stuff like this does more damage to the union movement than you could think, because people have this idea that everybody in unions are corrupt. We're not. We're actually trying to make our workplace safer and protect our workers and make sure that they get paid a decent wage. It's guys like this that that give unions a
Sold out
bad
the
name.
unions.
Right.
They sell out the unions. Okay.
Now, this guy was the president of the International Union of Operating Engineers. He pled guilty. He resigned from his post and he pled guilty. And from what I'm hearing, he didn't know prior, but here he is on Air Force One with Trump.
Oh, God help me.
And pardoning a guy who does this is not supporting unions, by the way.
That's right. Let's not get the idea that unions are a thing with Trump, because Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about the workers. Okay? The unions exist for the workers, not for the corrupt bosses that steal from the unions and screw over the workers. Okay? Those are Donald Trump's people, the corrupt union bosses. But Donald Trump is not pro-union under any circumstance.
Now, I wanted to put in the International Union of Operating Engineers webpage here because they're fighting everything that Trump's trying to put in. They're fighting the budget reconciliation package because they know it's going to hurt them. All right. Now, I don't know where Trump is going to try to cash in on favors from this individual. He's a retired labor leader, but who knows? Maybe he'll, if the Department of Labor chair resigns, maybe he'll put him in as head of the Department of Labor. Who knows? And by the way, before I forget, Michael Grimm was an FBI officer. So maybe, just maybe, if Kash Patel outwears his welcome, there's another guy you could just throw in there, Michael Grimm.
Or Michael Grimm can find another role somewhere in the FBI.
Right.
What's his name there? I can't remember what his name is, but he wasn't going to pass muster as the DC whatever it was that what Janine Pirro took, the prosecutor.
Right.
So what did they do? They put him in the DOJ. Okay, they appointed him to positions in the DOJ.
Now, this was a commutation. Larry Hoover, he also has state charges, so he's not going to be out of prison. But I don't know. I don't know why he did this one. But it's a gang leader. I don't know if Deb remembers him.
I do.
He was the founder of a Chicago street gang.
Right. And we're accusing some of the people that we are deporting of being in gangs.
Gang members.
Right.
Okay. Now, does Trump weighs pardons of people convicted for Whitmer's 2020 kidnapping plot? And Deb and I talked about it. Look, Gretchen Whitmer needs to grow a spine. She's not going to get anything from Donald Trump for her constituents. It's not going to happen. Her response to this, oh, it's disappointing.
No, she's actually quite disappointing. She's in a swing state. And she could be out there in red districts rallying just like other governors have done and just like other legislators have done. And instead, she's pussyfooting around with the fascist. Okay. I just can't tell you what a huge disappointment she is. And I do not want to hear that she's thinking of her constituents, because she is absolutely not thinking of her constituents. Because Donald Trump's word is about as reliable as gas station sushi. Okay.
Right. Now, this shows, there's a list, including the pedophile guy. Actually, is this another pedophile guy? Oh, not him. Not her. Sorry. What just happened? Did I just lose everything?
Oh,
There he is. Okay. Is this the same person? Yeah, it's the same person.
guy.
But there's a list of people who are already in legal trouble.
One of them was shot dead by a police officer doing something. I don't know what he was, but forget what it was. But yeah, there is.
So let's see. Right. Florida resident Daniel Ball rearrested on federal firearms charges while still in custody. Okay. That was, or the North Carolina man was that person that we just showed. And the one that Deb's talking about, Indiana man Matthew Huddle, fatally shot by a sheriff's deputy during a traffic stop. All right. So, all right. I'm going to have to do this again. I want to see if there are any other darlings of the Trump pardons. But so to say that these people deserve pardons, and the people thrown in San Salvador prisons should be in jail. Trump is basically judge and jury in these. Let's see.
I can understand pardons if there are people who have served significant portions of their sentence and have in some way paid back their debt to society. I can see if they were maybe put in prison and there are questions about their guilt or innocence. I can see that. Okay. I have no problem with that. But just to blanket pardon, and I don't care whether the president is a Democrat or a Republican.
Right.
I think that's just a system that needs to be looked at and reined in across the board. Just as I believe that we need to return to publicly funded election campaigns on both sides of the aisle, not just one side of the aisle.
Right. So here's another individual, Andrew Taki, or Tak, or whatever, pardoned by Donald Trump for assaulting police officers during the Capitol riots, is now wanted in Texas for a 2016 charge of online solicitation of a minor. Okay, I'm just saying. So a couple pardons that we have understood. Okay. Let me undo this. Can I? What the frick? Hold on. What's happening? Why can't I get out of it? That's weird. Hold on. Another example of our crack technical team. But so oops. All right. What am I doing? Stop share. There we go. All right. So a couple that Deb and I I believe that we would agree on Chelsea Manning when she was okay.
Yep.
Chelsea Manning, Leonard Peltier.
Yep.
Okay, those are a couple. There were some convicted on drug charges, marijuana charges, that were still in prison. Biden commuted those sentences. There were a few, let's just say, protective pardons, like a pardon of Anthony Fauci. So
Cheney.
Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger. All right. And the fact that Joe Biden used an auto pen means nothing.
I don't know why people believe that Donald Trump is not using auto pen when we know he's using auto pen, and he used auto pen to pardon the J6 insurrectionists. Okay, we know that.
Do you really think that he stood there signing 1,500 different times? I mean, come on.
The man could barely form a sentence. I'm pretty sure that he couldn't expend that much energy writing his name. What did he write? King Donald 1,500 times? Probably.
So there are two potential actions here. One is to continue to watch this constitutional amendment proposal and push for it when the time is right, not now because we don't have the votes. The second thing is when you know of someone who is running. By the way, there was someone running for Michigan governor in that article, AP article about trying to keep people from running. There was somebody running for governor in Michigan. There were a few others trying to run for office. State does have a right to say no.
Yeah. By the way, if we want all of this to stop, there is a simple process coming up in 2026. It's called voting. This time, let's get it right, okay? We need to win the House and the Senate. You know, I don't want to hear that we can't possibly win the Senate. Nothing right now that's going on is popular among any people. And everybody has to push the Democratic Party to put candidates up in every fucking state for every position. No more of this conceding states because it's a red state. We're done with that now. We need to try something different, which is organizing in every single state. That's what has to happen. And the way we get that done is with the people pushing their local Democratic Party. Do it. That's what you're there for. That's part of civic duty. Okay?
And we stand with David Hogg and his idea of primarying Democrats. It's not a circular firing squad. It's what's supposed to happen.
But it may not be that he should be doing that while he's working for the DNC. I'm going to say that again also, okay?
Right.
There is a
which is fine.
Conflict of interest there, okay?
Correct. We stand by his
when he works for the DNC.
Right. We stand by his position on it. However, let the DNC handle their business. And there were things that happened during that election that may potentially disqualify David Hogg. And David Hogg is going to be fine inside the DNC or outside of the DNC. He can follow him. Jamie Harrison did a decent job in the DNC with Dirt Road Democrats. We have to continue that line of thinking. The reason I brought up David Hogg is that I do not want to hear, well, what about Gallego? What about Fetterman? What about them? If they're bad enough, primary them. Okay? I know Deb is furious with Gallego right now.
I'm about done.
And forevermore.
There is a video coming on that. Yeah, and there's 4 other Democrats with him that I'm about done with. There will be no postcards written by me for them this cycle. I'm whatever happens, but I won't work against them, but I won't work for them.
And that's something that you have to know too, that we understand the system. We're not going to actively stomp or push for certain people. Fetterman, Gallego or two of them. I know that. And I already pushed for people. Listen, if you're ready,
For me, anybody who has publicly thrown their big fat mouths into the transgender people in sports thing when there are maybe 10 people playing
right,
in the entire country, when they're making that a political talking point, throwing transgender people under the bus for no reason at all, when there are no problems in any of those instances, and it is not government business.
right.
When you're doing that, you are off my list, because I personally believe that the Democrats have been too silent as a party on the whole transgender demonization issue, and that needs to change for me.
And there have been instances where House reps have made a comment publicly and then retracted or, like backed off because of public pressure. Okay. But if certain people continue to do what they're doing, actually, I know of three. And, I don't know about if you had Whitmer on that list, but I know Newsom, I know Fetterman, and I know Gallego.
Yeah, those are the three.
Listen, here's the
And
thing.
there's one from Massachusetts,
Moulton,
Bolton, and
Swazi.
Swazi. And I don't care what the Swazi backed off. I don't
I know.
trust them. It's just
Right.
it's going to be. And there may be more. There is a list in that article on Gallego. There's a list of 5 people, and those people will be hearing from me personally. But I
Right.
will not be. I did postcard mailings for Swazi. I did postcard mailings for Gallego. I
It's
helped.
not going to happen.
I'm not doing it. I'm not expending my energy on them. I'm just not.
But what we will say is that, yes, we understand the reality that they are better than the Republicans. If Swazi was in my district, I would still vote for him. But if there's a primary candidate that is primarying him, because Swazi came out of retirement, he's supposedly a bridge Democrat. Okay, so somebody step up. Who's going to step up in that district? And because the best we can do is George Santos. I mean, I don't believe it. Somebody has to be available.
Yeah.
And people keep on saying John Cooper. No, I believe he's in Florida now. I understand. Yeah, but no. But listen,
he's not in the political business anymore. He's now an influencer.
Correct. And I would
peddling business.
Yeah, whatever. But the point is to this whole business of trading influence. Part of what we're talking about. You notice Trump is pardoning a ton of people in the entertainment business and the messaging business. There are some politicians in there, and I would not be surprised if he would be calling on them to return the favor at some point.
Yeah, he never does anything for nothing. Never.
I'm just saying. And some of these people are like, "Oh, I didn't even know. I didn't know that he was doing this." But you will. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But and don't think that for a moment I have forgotten about the previous the Blackwater soldiers who massacred people and were pardoned. We have Roger Stone. We have Steve Bannon. Deb, my brain is fogging. Who were some of the others that he pardoned last time? I remember the Blackwater.
I remember that. I remember Bannon. I remember Stone. I can't remember anyone else, actually.
Right.
Honestly, at this time, I have a list somewhere, but
the bottom line is,
my mind is I can't even get my brain out of the second term yet. I mean, it's just been if 4 months could feel like 4 years. This is it.
Right. Not for nothing, Michael Grimm happened to be one of them. Some of these they did partial commutations and then did a full pardon, later on. I don't know what that's about. But the fact that Michael Grimm was in the FBI immediately struck me. The fact that that boxer works with HUD immediately struck me
Right.
because and that individual who was a union. Don't think that Trump isn't going to call in for favors with these people. He's looking at people that in some way could help him with influence, whether it be, through the airwaves or through connections. So to me, this is just pure spoil systems. And
Joe Arpaio. I'm giving you some list here.
okay. Oh, Arpaio, yeah.
Scooter Libby. Dinesh D'Souza.
Right. And while you're looking at that, remember Dinesh D'Souza was a major peddler of misinformation.
Michael Milken.
Right.
Bernie Kerik.
And yes, we know Bernie Kerik passed away this past week, I think.
Yep.
But the bottom line is that he deserved to be pardoned. There should be, the way I see it, there should be some sort of
Paul Manafort.
Oh, right.
Charles Kushner.
Of course. And by the way, under the proposed amendment, a lion's share of these would never have been pardoned.
Right.
So
yeah, there's a whole list of people here, but I'm not going to read them all because
no. I mean, a lot, and again, the first term pardons. There's a pattern here. First off, Trump doesn't believe that financial crimes or corruption crimes are really crimes if you're high enough in power, because that's just what people do. Well, second off, he uses these as political favors.
Right.
Okay. Have you noticed, and especially guys like Steve Bannon, because Steve Bannon's a mouthpiece.
Yep.
By the way, Michael Grimm, he's another mouthpiece. He works for Newsmax.
Right.
Okay, so just saying. Just take a look. There's a pattern here. And in the meantime, people who haven't committed a crime or were in the process of becoming citizens the right way are being snatched up off the streets and thrown in foreign prisons. And Abreu is still in prison. A lot of these people, we're trying to, there are groups out there trying to track them and find out if they're still alive.
We had in Massachusetts, we had an 18-year-old kid taken off a school bus and detained by ICE, and no one knows where he is right now. No one knows what's going on yet. We'll see.
Right, and we have there was a student in New York City, okay, and they're starting to go to high schools on Long Island, from what I'm hearing. So this is going to get worse before it gets better. And for Trump to say that he gives a shit about crime, at this point, you should know, no, this isn't what it is.
All right, gang. We will see you the next time around. Be watching for these videos coming out. Talk to you later.
Yep.